Came bright like.
Oh my God! If I was to be a babe and you use a line on me, I would say no. I would not even look your side at.
No.
Whether it's Clement and is it?
No, you don't know. That's wait. No.
Hi guys, welcome to Talk with Becky, where we unlock the minds of individuals one conversation at a time. On today's episode, my guest and I shall be looking at the impact of economic policies on social inequality, and I have with me a resound economist to have this conversation with. Please join your hands together as I make welcome my guest. Oh, James, don't you look breathtaking?
Becky, good morning.
Good morning, James. How are you?
I'm okay. How do
You
you
look
do?
really good, I must say.
Thank you very
I mean,
much,
before you
Becky.
got here, how many girls were like, now the guy, he didn't enter my way.
Becky, you have A1 in high pain.
Oh,
Thank
shit.
you.
Good to really have you here.
Thank you,
How have you
Becky.
been?
I'm okay. How do
And
you?
happy weekend.
Thank you.
I know I told you this like just impromptu, and then you made out time to be here. I really, really appreciate that.
Anything for Becky, you know?
Chop knuckles. Thank you so much.
It's
So
fine.
quickly, like the topic said, we're going to be discussing the impact of economic policies on social inequality.
Yeah.
So quickly talk to me about how economic policies affect wealth and income distribution in the society of today.
When you talk about economic policies, you
Mm,
should basically be looking at any course of action
okay.
that the government intends to use to influence economic behavior.
Okay.
So that's just what you need to know about economic policies. It could
Alright.
be monetary policies, that is policies from CBN, or it could be fiscal policies,
Okay.
policies from the government, form of, let's say, tax, could be tax or government expenditures.
Mm,
Now, when you keep that at one end, you look at the other end, income inequality or social inequality. If you look at social inequality, you are simply talking about any unequal act, just an unequal act of resources.
mm,
So any form or any system that makes access to resources or privileges, benefits in a country not to be equally distributed, we are talking about social inequality.
okay.
So how does economic policies affect social inequality? I would simply say it's more like a mediating effect. Economic policies tries to mediate social inequality such that you'll be looking out at the end of you'll be looking out at the outcome of what that social inequality will look like. Is either the policy is trying to widen the gap of inequality or is trying to compress the gap of inequality. So
Right.
just say economic policies tries to create an equal or an unequal society.
All right. With that being said, what then drives rising income inequality, and how can policies address this?
There are so many factors that could cause rising income inequality.
Okay.
You could look at unemployment, at unemployment rate,
Which is very high in the
which is very
society of
high.
today.
Although that's a very technical issue to discuss now, but when you look at Nigeria, you discover that we will not categorically look at unemployment now. We should be looking at underemployment or
Okay.
poverty rate, because the last methodology that was used to derive unemployment rate by the CBN made everything so unpredictable. Now unemployment rate is just at 5%, but we know in reality it's more than that. So, but when you look at poverty rates in Nigeria, that's where you understand that there is a high gap of inequality between the rich and the poor in Nigeria. So, but when you look at unemployment, you keep that at one end. Another thing you look at is inflation rate. Inflation rate is rising. Currently, we have inflation rate at 33% in Nigeria. So what it means is that it's affecting the real income, that is the capacity of people to spend, the earning power of the poor people to spend. Then you also look at things like, let's say, gender work discrimination. That one could create inequality between male workers and
the
female workers.
How do tax policies impact social mobility and inequality?
Tax policies.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, maybe we should look at the current administration now, something more like what you could call Tinubonomics, the economics of Tinubu's administration.
Okay.
So when you look at it, you discover that the administration is basically geared towards tax increase. It's basically geared towards tax increase. Like from the very first day, it's all about how to tax the people. In fact, during the manifesto, we heard where he said you widen the tax net. So it's basically all about raising more money for the government. Now, in a country where there is too much taxation or where there is much taxation, you discover that you are affecting the tax mobility. You make it very difficult for people to grow across the social ladder.
Okay.
Make it very difficult for people to rise across the social class. So definitely it could cause enough inequality. It could cause high rate of inequality in the society.
Is trickle down in economics effective in reducing this inequality we've been talking about? Or
I would say no, a very serious no to it, because the rationale behind trickle down economics is basically to create tax cuts for the rich, such that at the end of the day there will be development in the nation. But over the years, oftentimes we've seen that it doesn't work that way. In fact, under the capitalist system of government, they discover that capitalists are selfish in nature. So no matter how the government continues to give them tax holidays and tax breaks, you won't see any result at the end of the day. A typical example is Dangote. After Dangote finished building his refinery, what happened? He employed 11,000 Indians. You see, but the whole idea is supposed to be employ
employing people,
the
local,
domestic citizens here, so that such that you will empower them and then give them the ability to earn. But at the end of the day, he said the major reason of that decision, or of that reason, or of his action, was that Nigerians are not qualified for that position. So he
that's
employed.
heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking now. It's
If I
heartbreaking.
must
So,
say, I mean, to
and
consider that.
currently, when you look at even currently, FIRS has about 107 companies under what they call first class. We should look at what are they calling it? Development in Industrial Act policy. FIRS is just like a certain degree of companies where the government gives pioneer status of tax holidays. Let's say three years tax holidays, so that they will be take away that burden from them to expand their business and then create more employment generation. Currently, they have about 107 companies under that scheme, but you see that unemployment rate continues to grow high. So you see that trickle down theory is not doing any justice to it. It's only making the rich grow and then stagnating other economic or other indicators that we are supposed to reduce inequality.
Okay, very nice submission.
Mhm.
So, what roles do education, healthcare, and housing play in economic inequalities, and how can policies address these disparities?
Well, the education, health, and then what did you say again?
Education, healthcare, and housing.
Education, healthcare, and housing. These are very core sectors of every economy. Now, first, education gives people the capacity to be self-reliant and self-dependent. Now, the role you could look at education as a role of breaking barriers. It gives people the ability to rise across the social ladder or across the social class, such that you become so confident in what you can do. And even though the government does not provide job, you could create one for yourself. When you create one for yourself, you see you've reduced your unequal access to resources. You've also increased your capacity to earn, which makes you rise across the social rank. So education has a role of reducing that's a role of reducing that gap between the poor and the rich. But it all depends again on how it's been done. And that's where policy, when you talk about how policy could come in, it means that the government has to make education accessible, especially to those at the poorest part of the countries. So then when you look at health, you see health again. Health is also another, in fact, health gives you the capacity to be strong, because of course, if you are not healthy, you cannot work. Yeah, it's only when you are healthy that you can talk about working and earning for yourself. And they say health is wealth. So when you have good health, you are wealthy. You have the capacity of being wealthy, or the potential to be wealthy. So when if the government recognizes this health as a very instrumental variable in reducing inequality, then the government policies will have to create policies that will do what? Policies that will create accessibility to healthcare facilities, especially for the poor people. When the government creates accessibility, things like insurance packages, health insurance packages, not just creating it now in later service now, or just like creating it as a policy, but it's about making it active, such that as a civil servant, I can walk to the hospital and be sure that there's an insurance policy for me. It does is that it reduces the stress, the financial stress. It reduces the financial stress from these people. Their income becomes, instead of the income they were supposed to divert to health, will be used for some other thing else to increase their capacity. Then the last one is housing. Of course, yeah. If you talk about housing facilities, the government should create affordable housing units, especially for civil servants. You see that it also reduces the burden of expenditures that they make. When it reduces the burden of expenditure they make, they could divert their money to other productive ventures or assets, which will of course increase their earning power. So these are things, these are areas the government has to look into, especially when
into.
it comes to policy formulation and all of that.
All right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, James, for every of your submission this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your platform.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
So I know you were not expecting this part of the show.
Was that?
We have a game that we play here, and I'm
Okay.
sure as an economist you can actually play.
But I hope
Like you can play.
I don't know. We don't play in
Okay.
economics, but I hope I do.
Hey, no, you have to play. I've got some games written here.
Okay.
Whatever I've been out of the bag and whatever it says, what you're ready to.
Are you sure? Okay, let's see.
Don't worry, don't fear. It's something that you can do. I trust you. You're going to be playing the compliment game.
Okay.
Compliment game, like how to compliment someone.
Okay.
So the whole idea is you have to compliment the weather, like compliment the weather as if it were to be a person.
Okay.
So if you're ready, you let me know.
Oh wow.
So 1 to go.
The weather is clement, looking bright like.
Oh my God! If I was to be a babe and you sign on, I would say no. I wouldn't even look your side at.
No.
It's Clement. And is it?
No, you don't know. No, I have to use myself because I know Clement generally it's any something beautiful, merciful.
Compliment the weather as if it be a person. Maybe one be whether it's to be a babe or a guy. Just compliment it. So the weather is Clement.
Okay, don't like it. Don't want the weather is Clement.
Just give me anything.
The weather is so fine and so fair. I wish I could just stay under all the days of my life and have a beautiful moment.
Oh my God. Guys, if Clement were to talk to you like that, you would agree.
No, how do I?
You've tried. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, that's about that.
Okay.
I'm sure you actually enjoyed this game.
Sure.
You felt a bit relaxed. Laughed that out. So loud.
I wasn't expecting it though.
Exactly.
But I have good lines, so forget about this.
Used it.
And what I'm just saying is, I would do it probably when it comes to a woman and them. I don't do abstract
Can
things.
you imagine?
I don't do abstract things. I do reality. So that's it.
It's fine. It's okay. All right then. All right, guys. So we've come to the end of another insightful episode on Talk with Becky, and I'm sure that you enjoyed this episode. First and foremost, I want to say a very huge thank you to my guest, Jamesclement, for having to be here, and to you, my beautiful community. Thank you for always watching. You know what to do. Give us a subscription. Hurry up to the YouTube channel. Share, like, comment, and what?
And subscribe.
Very important. And I will see you again in my next video. Bye.
Thank you.